faith? Can it be your faith in Can it be your faith? Can it be your faith in faith? Can it be your Can it be your faith in
Oh, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the JD Legend Show. With me, I have a special guest, as you can see. I know everyone's laughing at the title. I told Ohara before. We're not hanging Ohara. We're hanging with Ohara, okay? Like,
well, we're not. I'm still alive.
He's still
so
alive.
Far.
He's not being held against his will. Like he said, Jay in the snuff.
It depends. It depends on the opinions I utter in this spot, like in this show. If you don't like it, you might hang me at the end of the show.
We have some controversial topics. So Ohara's life is on the line based on his takes. So at the end of the stream, you guys have to give the thumbs up or a thumbs down whether Ohara lives after the stream. That's what we're doing.
I have a good feeling. I trust your audience. They're good people.
My chat, I don't know. Good people is a stretch. They're very aggressive. But I love them. They're great people.
I gotta say that though. I do want to live.
Nico Robin, the spirit of Nico Robin lives on.
You guys rock. Love you guys.
So how's your day been, man? How's your day going? I know it's early in Japan right now, so what do you got planned for the day?
My day has been pretty good. I overslept. I got out of bed. I turned on my laptop, and you were like, "You still good, bro?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm up." And then I made coffee, and then the rest is history. We're here.
You know, the funny thing is, even though I didn't get a response, in my mind, I'm just like, everybody has their bad days. So I'm like, listen, if it is what it is, I have my green screen set up. I had the light up. I'm like, look, I got some backup topics. Like, we're going to do this show no matter what. All right. It don't matter. So glad
I'm not going to let you hang, bro. But I was like, because we've been drinking yesterday. Like, we had like a birthday and because I'm living in a sort of share house thing.
Okay.
So, and there was like a new person moving in. So we had like a double celebration kind of, and it got a bit wild. So I was like, okay, I have to at least sleep in a little bit.
Ooh. Yeah, so we might be talking to hungover horror. We'll see.
That's fine. It's fine. The German inside me can't handle.
Hey man, let's hope that carries on to the Euros. Germany need that energy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but shout out to the chat. How you guys doing today? It's nice to see y'all. No spoilers, by the way. We know spoilers are out. Don't be petty. You will get banned. I have enough mods in here to find you, so don't do it.
Oh, is there spoilers out already?
Yeah. I think there's they're translating the scans right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So
damn. To be fair though, bro, I'm not sure if I told you or if you I actually stopped doing chapter reviews for the past month.
I did notice that. I did.
Yeah. And it's it's not permanent necessarily, but I wanted to see for a couple of reasons. I was like, and please, if you want to jump into topics, let me know. I'm just gonna ramble a bit, but
go ahead.
It was first of all, I did do the change to the official, which obviously changed the audience and everything. And then I feel like they do the chapters do affect how your videos perform on YouTube, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that's a thing for you, but it's just very short-lived content. Right?
I agree with that.
That was a thing. And then the third thing was also based on the switch to the official. I used to just do the chapter reviews on Thursdays or something, and that's fine because that's work week for me, regular week, and I'm I can do that. But on the weekend now, it used to be me grinding through Sunday night because basically it's nighttime here in Japan when the video comes out at 1 a.m. or something.
Right.
So I'm I don't want to keep doing that. I can't keep doing that. So that was kind of the reason that I kind of took a break of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, I'm not sure. I think most One Piece YouTubers or most anime YouTubers can relate to that probably. But once you hit a certain point, you kind of and you talk about for example, let's say One Piece, right?
Right.
You talk about that series so much, you kind of stop watching other One Piece YouTubers. At least that's how it was for me.
Yeah.
And taking that break with chapter reviews, I've enjoyed the chapters so much because there's just I can read them and there's no I don't have to immediately think, hey, oh my god, how am I gonna present this? Oh no, there's Zoro and Sanji again. How am I gonna
how am I gonna escape by this?
Yeah, it's like that part falls away. And then like literally like the last 2 weeks, I've like started watching Joy Boy again. Like I watched him before I even started YouTube. I was like, I haven't watched him for like maybe 2 years, right? And I was like, I wonder what he has to think about the chapter. So that was kind of nice. That's kind of nice. I'm like, I'm not saying I'm not gonna like ever do chapter reviews again, but like right now I'm really enjoying like just reading the story. And like right now, right, like now I'm really motivated to like share my thoughts with you because like I haven't really, shared my thoughts on the chapters yet with anyone so
Yeah.
recently. So that yeah, that has its upsides, I feel.
It's interesting you say that because I also do think at a certain point, with your fan base established and you're established on YouTube as well, I think you have more liberty to kind of step away from the chapter reviews and the reactions and focus on the content you really want to put out. So I do feel that as someone who's a live reactor, I guess it's natural for me, so it's not much work I have to do. But reviews, I remember when I was doing reviews, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like it just didn't, it wasn't coming out of me, man. So
Yeah, I get that.
yeah, but that's
No, for sure. I mean, it's like I feel like the best thing is like for everyone to like do the content you're most comfortable with, right? And I'm not saying like don't push yourself, like I really enjoyed having that streak of chapter reviews because like kind of keeps you on top of things, and it's like nice, to share your thoughts and be able to like talk about it, and also like be part of the discussion, which I really think is cool. But that's like it always depends. Like I feel like me personally, I might have overdone it a bit with like the production quality, even though like that sounds maybe paradoxical, but I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna switch to the official also, and I was like, okay, I want to have this be as good as possible, but then that was just like too much, I guess.
yeah.
And yeah, so there. So I'll see how I'll handle it in the future, but like I might like extend my hiatus a little bit, keep focusing on my character analysis.
It's funny because it's like it's insightful, especially for people that want to be One Piece YouTubers or One Piece YouTubers already. I know there's a couple of them in the chat. This is kind of how it gets after a while. You love the series so much, but when you become a content creator, you're really looking at every nook and cranny of the story, and you're not enjoying it as a regular viewer anymore, which is why some of your opinions might change from a regular viewer who's enjoying everything that you see to someone who has to make content and present a story to you about what I'm reading instead of just taking in the story. So it's a lot. It's not easy. It's not easy, guys. Just hope the streets
I
understand.
100% agree. Yeah, no, like if there's anyone in the chat who like really thinks about doing YouTube, no matter if it's like, I mean, I guess it's probably going to be like something anime related. But I 100% agree. Like, especially as a creative, like if your work is based on like, like something creative and creative work, you have to be careful that you don't like the worst thing that can happen. And I think like probably I would just lean out of the window and say every YouTuber, anime YouTuber, or One Piece YouTuber who's like been there for longer than a year has been at a point where he was like, at least once or twice, where it's been like, fuck, I don't even want to read the chapter. I really just want to like, I don't care if like, oh, please don't be like Zoro Sanji again or like whatever. It's like, when it starts becoming your work, like you have to really make sure that like I guess you kind of have to see when that point comes for you, but you really don't want to be stuck in the point where you like start hating the story because you have to talk about it every time. So you want to like find a good balance, like, and see, like that's part of it for me right now. It's like I want to be able to enjoy One Piece and like literally like, and that like makes such a difference, I feel like, in the videos and in the energy.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm very strongly convinced that it translates into your videos if you're not feeling it, but you kind of like feel like you have to force yourself. I personally think if you're ever in that point, it's like, okay, take a break. Like I get a lot of like comments right now saying like, oh, where's your chapter reviews? Like I'm waiting for your chapter reviews. It's like, but people are gonna accept it in the end. And like I'm happy, right, that people want to hear my thoughts. But then I feel like it's better for everyone if I personally keep like the fun with the story, and I think that goes for everyone.
No, I agree with that. Don't cheat your audience at the end of the day. And I think if you guys are not going to see my excitement, there's no reason for me to give you a video, even if you would like to see it.
Right.
I'd want to give you my best.
Why? Exactly. And like I don't want to like fake something just so I can get a content or whatever. So keep the authenticity high.
Believe it or not, just for everyone in the chat, every One Piece YouTuber has gone through that. Where they're really, really just drained from reading the story. Rogers went through it. I've gone through it. Brago,
I would even go further. I would probably say that every YouTuber has gone through this. Like, even if I know people who do like workout stuff, right, on YouTube, and it's like if you're a sports YouTuber and you're actually literally doing like classes and how-tos, and that's your thing, it's like you can't go and like, I'm gonna like chill this month. I'm gonna like get fat this month, and then like I'm gonna work it off next month. It's like that's not happening. Like you got to pull through with that
You have to.
shit.
You got to fight.
I mean, it's like I feel like we still like we picked a very comfortable niche to be in that regard because I feel like I don't know. I feel like dealing with I'm not saying it's like easy, like always keeping or staying in love with the story. For example, One Piece, like it's like genuinely like there's like stories you can fall out of love with, and I feel like One Piece makes it relatively easy to stay in love with. But then that's the thing. But I feel like there's like areas in which you can create content where it's a lot harder.
Yes.
Like if you ever have that dip and like leave that dip, that might be like a tough spot to be in, I feel.
And we're fortunate because, One Piece kind of creates our own content because we're talking about whatever happens within One Piece, what could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, we're definitely a lot better off than other YouTubers, I would say.
Yeah. I'm gonna say for me, it's definitely also been. I know that's like we've talked about this a lot. For me, it's been definitely a really healthy step that I now also have like Jujutsu Kaisen and like Hunter x Hunter on my channel and stuff like that. Like for me personally, like having that balance and being able to like I talk about Jujutsu Kaisen, which I'm really passionate about
I
right
can tell,
now.
yeah.
As most people can tell who know my channel probably. But then like it's like like the next week I'm gonna do One Piece, and then like I'm burning for One Piece right now. Like I did like a Roger video recently that I uploaded like 2 days ago. It was like I had like so much fun making that just because like I'm not doing chapter reviews, and like I've been doing I think like a Boku no Hero and like a Jujutsu Kaisen video before that, and I'm like I really want to talk One Piece, and so I could tell that it's healthy also from my content, that just like I having these breaks and having a bit of balance in it. So yeah.
We love to see it, man. I definitely see the passion in the explanation, so I think we can all, we all see it for ourselves. But now that we're up to about the 20-minute mark.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Nah, you're good. Nah, it was a good conversation.
It's going a bit meta here.
Nah, but so let's get on to the first topic. So
yes, please.
Luffy cannot be Joy Boy. That is something that some people have reiterated time and time again, and the main fear comes from the Naruto conundrum, where Naruto got a lot of flack for his character based on the fact that he was always trying to fight Destiny. He was combative with Neji about his whole Destiny spiel, and then he ended up inheriting the will of Indra and Ashura, and that kind of I don't want to say this, but it kind of compromised everything that he went through in part 1, where he's this destined golden child, and he fulfilled his legacy. So when it comes to Luffy,
which was the good part, by the way.
Yeah, it was the good part. When it comes to Luffy, the theme of Luffy is kind of like freedom of choice. If you've seen every damsel in distress that he's dealt with, anybody in general, Nami, Vivi, Rebecca, Sanji, the theme is around freedom of choice. You choose your destiny. You don't have to fall in line with the status quo. And that's the embodiment of Luffy. So if Luffy turns out to be the destined Joy Boy, do you believe that would compromise his character?
Right. Yeah. I think that's a really good question. And I know that that's like a big concern of people. That it's like, oh, at the end of the story, it's, as you said, like pull like a Naruto. And then basically, oh, yeah, it was like Luffy's destiny all along, blah, blah, blah. I personally think, and I feel like I've discussed this somewhere before, that it's not the same because Destiny plays a different role in One Piece, in my opinion, than it does in Naruto.
Okay.
I feel Destiny and like it in Naruto, like as you said, it was like the first half was the main character grinding his way from nothing like into like a bit of attention and into getting stronger and like getting a bit of recognition, getting stronger, and so on and so forth. And then suddenly at some point it's like, oh, but actually, you know what, like you've had that power within you all the time, and like you were fated, you and Sasuke were like destined to like fight and like blah blah blah, beat this alien whatever thing. Sorry for like I know like it's been like a bit of a theme, like insulting Naruto. But like that's how I look at it, kind of like the second part. Like at some point I literally, because I really enjoyed that, like it was one of my first, like I watched Naruto before One Piece, and like I was really disappointed at some point how the story turned out, and like during the war and after the war especially.
Right.
So there, I feel like it was something that was like thrown in there without any real like there was no foreshadowing for that, literally.
Fair. That's fair.
And in One Piece, I think it's different. We have like the Will of D is like introduced, I think, in like chapter 90. It's like before chapter 100, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
It's like on like when we meet Chopper, I think it's Dr. Correa, I think, who talks
She
about
does
it
mention
first.
it, yes.
And we know like this is a thing. We know that like Luffy has inherited Ace's will. He has inherited Roger's will, Shanks's will. Like, you know, a lot of people who like put their expectations into Luffy, and this idea that like dreams and goals are kept alive through the people who are those that are pet. Like that's the whole thing of like every Straw Hat member, right? Like Chopper has like Dr. Correa's and Hero Luke's dream, and Robin has all of Ohara's dreams. You know, Zoro has Kuina's, like everyone has like, you know, like Sanji has Zeph's dream and so on and so forth. So that's already like a big thing established in One Piece. And I also don't think that if Luffy were to be Joy Boy, I don't think that would undermine his adventures at all, because I feel like he still made his own choices. It's just that Luffy, I think everyone who had the will of D, in my opinion, that's how I look at it as my headcanon, has the potential to become Joy Boy. And it's just like Luffy might just become it, right? Because like he's special, but like not because he's destined to be so. He had the potential to be that, and he was just that great of a person, and through his choices and hard work, he kind of like earned, right, you know, that right to become that special person who like fulfills their destiny. So I look at it more in that sense. All of that being said, I personally don't believe that Luffy is Joy Boy.
So I'm glad you said that, because that's actually my next question. Because one thing that you mentioned was very interesting is the idea behind Joy Boy. It seems like someone who can be a candidate to be Joy Boy, but there's no one destined Joy Boy, which is interesting. Now, we have the prophecy about the two sovereigns, and some people might think that's also Joy Boy and Shirahoshi. But if Kaido said, looks like you couldn't be Joy Boy either, I'm just like, well, now we're looking at Joy Boy a little differently, right? So if you had a choice, your main candidate to be Joy Boy outside of Luffy, I'm probably considering only two people at this point, but can I guess who you would say? I feel like you're gonna say who I think you're gonna say.
I mean, I feel like, do you have another candidate apart from Momo? Because like I couldn't actually think about.
So I know Whitebeard said you're not the one Roger's waiting for, but Blackbeard, the parallels he has with Luffy are very interesting. Now remember, you have to qualify. You have to be a candidate to be Joy Boy. Maybe there's something that Joy Boy has to do in order for him to officially become Joy Boy. And I feel like Blackbeard would be someone who is capable of fulfilling the criteria. He may not be the right person, but he could fulfill a criteria, depending on the mysticism around his character.
I do, like, I think the thought of, like, you know, throwing that twist in there and having Blackbeard, the antagonist, be Joy Boy, I get, like, why that would be a charming idea, and I agree with you that would be cool. But I feel like Joy Boy, like, at least what we get so far is that Joy Boy seems to be... It for me, it doesn't seem to be a requirement to get to Laugh Tale. And, like, Blackbeard wants to, like, wants to get power, right? He wants to get to become Pirate King and the strongest, and, like, in the end, to, like, dominate the world and, like, be the strongest out there, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if, like, he needs to be, like, if he gets... Like, the only thing I would feel like would profit him if Joy Boy... or the title of Joy Boy would allow him control over, like, the ancient weapons or something. Like, that would be something different. But if like, Joy Boy literally just means he's one of the two, like, you know, he's the one who will fulfill the prophecy and basically, you know, change the world order, I don't see why Blackbeard would profit from that. So, like, that would be the only thing. If it, like, as you said, the two kings meeting and it's similar to Shirahoshi, and, like, that basically implies some sort of power, then that would be interesting.
So here's one thing that I find interesting about One Piece. Morality is subjective in One Piece. I think that's something that Oda has purposely done. Now, there are some things that we can agree are egregious, like obviously the fisherman racism, slavery, things of that nature. Right. But when it comes to the pirate world, you know, morality kind of goes out the window. Luffy says, I'm not a hero. I just do what I want to do. Luffy has his own ideology. So based on your ideology... it seems like One Piece kind of, whatever ideology is stronger, whatever person's will is stronger, they get to exact that will over the world itself. That's why the world government have been in power for so long. So
Right.
my sense is with Joy Boy, I don't know if Joy Boy is specifically tied to morality. Because that's the one thing that people would be concerned about. Why would Blackbeard be Joy Boy if if a villain? If Joy Boy's
I
entitled to
would.
morality, then maybe there's something
Right.
different.
I would phrase it maybe a bit different.
Okay.
Because for me personally, it's more I think like what Oda does in terms of morality in the story is usually he introduces like concept, right? Like family.
Yes.
And then he's like, these are like these values are basically new. I think that's what you mean, right? Like these values are neutral. It's like
Yes.
family or power. And then what Oda does is like usually he puts like the good, like he says like basically it depends on the person who like holds these beliefs, what it actually turns out to be. It's like both Whitebeard and Doflamingo have like this concept of family, but then
Yes.
like Whitebeard has like this very positive version of it, while Doflamingo has this very toxic version of it, right?
Yeah.
The same for Luffy and Blackbeard. Both of them like look for people who really fit into their crew. But then Blackbeard makes it like I get the most fucked up people who can like fuck up the world with me, and then Luffy is like I want the
Fair.
people who I can party with. It's like
I guess I overlooked the fact that he freed the world's worst criminals. Maybe I should have thought
yeah.
about that a little better, but fair. Definitely fair.
Well, but like not really undermining your point there.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I think that's more like the way Oda approaches it. He takes like values that like you might think are always good or always bad. Like, oh, family must always like if you put family first, that must always be great. And he's like, no, it kind of depends like how you execute it. And the same with like, oh, when you're like when you're power hungry, that's always bad. But then like again, it depends how you execute it. So
Okay.
but yeah, as you said, I feel like that doesn't I think now that you put it that way, it might actually, as you say, like Joy Boy might be up for grabs for anyone in that sense. Yeah.
So the another backing that I have for that notion is Kaido. The fact that Kaido said it is so interesting. I feel like that opened up. I feel like it opened up the end of series even more than we had it. Where
Yeah.
if Kaido says so, you couldn't be Joy Boy either. Is Kaido looking for Joy Boy? Kaido doesn't qualify if he's looking for Joy Boy. Kaido knows something about
Yeah.
Joy Boy. If you've noticed that Kaido has been looking for people who have conquerors. He's been looking for
Yes.
strong-willed people, and he wants to break their
People,
will,
yeah.
so they follow him. So maybe he's trying to find a Joy Boy because Joy Boy is the key to controlling the ancient weapons. So he's so intrigued with Odin. He's so intrigued with Luffy because he sees something in them where it's like he might have the qualities.
So I think we can definitely agree that Kaido knows, and like if Kaido knows, Big Mom probably knows as well, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if they know a lot about like what Laugh Tale is about and like Joy Boy and a lot of the stuff, I feel like that's just natural,
Yeah.
given their power position and the monopoly they have, like on power in the new world. I'm curious. I'm really excited to get like a Kaido flashback
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm really like that's a different story. I really am in love with Wano as an arc. Like right now, like the only arc I put above it is actually like Water 7 and Enies Lobby, just because like that has been so good and my favorite for such a long time. But I really enjoy the way it's going. And one of the things I've really enjoyed is how Kaido slowly is going from this just like, oh, it's this beast, this monster that basically just like ogre club smash kind of thing,
Yeah.
to like becoming a really interesting character. Like, oh, now suddenly he has a child, and that child we don't know is that his real child, and it's like what kind of relationship do they have? And then we see like, oh, like on the one hand he like doesn't mind playing dirty, but on the other hand he has like this sense of honor still, and he hates it when people who he respects get backstabbed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like we see him and Luffy having like this sort of like basically what Luffy and Katakuri had at some point, like this mutual respect and fun in like measuring each other up.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not saying that Oda's necessarily going to make Kaido very likable, but I think there's at least a chance that when we get to like Kaido's flashback, like first of all, I think we can agree there's going to be like some fucked up shit one way or the
Oh,
other.
yeah.
That's going to be like relatable, right? Like he's probably gone through some stuff. And then the other thing is that I personally, I feel like, as you said, he's looking for Joy Boy, but I'm like, the one possibility, as you said, is like he wants to like utilize that for his own purposes. But I wonder, like, if whatever might be to Kaido's character, like, it might also be that he is looking for Joy Boy to help him or whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not like I don't think that Kaido has yet been made into that crazy villain. Like, he's not. He's way too far away from like me being able to fully hate him.
Yes.
Like, he's a great antagonist, but I feel like there's a lot of potential there for him being like someone that Luffy has to defeat because he's like wrong. But similar to Big Mom, he might actually have like in his own way good intentions, kind of that sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like when he says he wants to create the greatest war the world has ever seen, like yeah, you can interpret that as in like, yeah, I want to fuck up everything, but he might also just be like, hey, I want to just really tear down the world government, and I need Joy Boy for that or whatever. Like, who
Right.
knows? So,
I would.
what's your take on that?
It's interesting you say that because I would actually argue that Kaido is one of the most subtly written characters that Oda's had in the story. There's a lot of subtlety with Kaido's actions and behaviors where if you read between the lines, you'll see a lot more depth in Kaido than you would have first
It's a lot of
see.
like gestures and mimic,
Exactly.
like facial expressions and stuff. Yeah,
It's definitely Oda uses that style with Zoro a lot from time to time as well. But with an antagonist has actually been kind of unique to me. This is why I'm so intrigued with Kaido. Kaido has been very, very impressive, and I just believe the flashback is not going to miss. There's no way it's going to miss. And when it comes out, I think I like how you said you reminded us of Big Mom's flashback, because her flashback was very good for her character and understanding who she is. I think Kaido's will be very similar, where you might have a sympathetic side, but overall you'll understand, yeah, this guy is chaotic. At the end of the day, it's chaos with Kaido. Kaido's all about chaos. That's who he's always been. But there's like some noble chaos. It's odd. I don't know how to explain it, but I sense that in it.
It's like basically, it's like, I feel like, like for Big Mom, you 100% can say Big Mom thinks she's the MC of the story, right?
Yes.
She thinks she's gonna bring peace to the world and like, basically also be the Joy Boy herself, who like does her own version of, uniting all the races and stuff.
Right.
And obviously not seeing how she fucks up things on the way. So, I mean, I guess in theory, you could even say that. I mean, I think we don't have to argue that Luffy's way, way better, right, than Big Mom. But I guess I think it would also be interesting to say, like, if you step away from like the main character perspective, it's like, I'm sure like the Straw Hats also are not always doing everything perfectly.
Of course.
So yeah, so I think it might be the same for Kaido. It would be interesting, I think, if Kaido basically wasn't like the Flamingo, who was just basically like, yeah, it's basically like the super narcissistic approach to like, it's all about me and like, make me feel good kind of thing.
Yeah.
And fuck the world. Like, it might be that, but I feel for Kaido that might be a lot more subtle, not like nuance in that point. So there, yeah. So, but bringing it back to the main question that you posed, as you said, I think Kaido seems to be well aware of Joy Boy. It really sounds like something in a way that is like, first of all, it's not like a person fixed. I think it's pretty clear that it's not the Joy Boy from the Void Century.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not the person coming back to life. It's more like either it was a title right from the start, or it was a person's will being like passed forward through time.
Right.
So yeah, and then I as I said earlier, I don't think there is like, just story wise, it wouldn't hurt Luffy's character, I think, in the slightest if he were to be Joy Boy. But that being said, I don't believe he will be. But if it were, I don't think it would be a problem.
Okay. So I'm guessing your run for is Momo. You were saying Momo's Joy Boy. That's what I'm hearing. Or it's a character we haven't been introduced.
So see, like, I'm a big fan of like twists, and One Piece is great at twists. So I think it would be, as you said, if it were like suddenly to be Blackbeard or something, that would be cool. But that being said, Momo is incredibly, like, there has been so much focus on Momo like since Zou, and it's really, really clear, like, also through the last few chapters, where like Momo literally says like, oh shit, I gotta stay alive, like this is like bigger than me, like I'm important.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, so could be something else, could be, I don't know, that like Momo has to play another role, but it really sounds to me like Oda's setting him up to be like an endgame character, and then it would just make sense, if he were to be Joy Boy.
All right. So that's the end of this topic. So normally what we do now, after we're done, we let the chat have their time, ask Ohara any questions that you would have, slander me for anything you didn't like me saying, because that's normally what you guys like to do anyway. But one, how do you guys feel about Luffy being Joy Boy? Do you think that would compromise his character? I feel like Ohara kind of definitely added a lot of perspective to that notion that, destiny is used differently in One Piece, and the notion of inherited will in itself is a form of destiny, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of like destiny in a way. So if it is just based on inherited will, if Luffy's inheriting Joy Boy's will, then that's fine. But I think what's also interesting is, has Joy Boy's will the will of Joy Boy is something that you inherit at that moment in time, or is it something you inherit from birth? I think it's at that moment in time. From what I'm based on what Kaido said, I feel like it's more of a moment thing than a birth thing.
Yeah, I think so as well. I feel like, someone like Ace might have also become Joey. I mean, that's what basically that's why Roger, it kind of sounds from the story like he was that sort of dick who kind of like, got a girl pregnant because he was like, maybe I can make that do to myself.
Maybe my son can be Joy Boy. If that really was the case with Roger, I was like, wow, Roger is, he is.
I'm not sure why people in the chat talk about it. I'm not sure if you saw. Did you ever see that theory by Joy Boy that Robin might be Roger's daughter? Because he basically said that Roger just went around and basically got people pregnant in the hope of trying to make Joy Boy. But he makes it sound way better than I do right here. But
I would be a very interesting and vulgar twist from Oda, but I would also be pleased with it if that were the truth. I don't know about Robin being the daughter of Roger. That's a little aggressive, but the notion of Roger trying to go around and create a Joy Boy is funny. That's funny because
I mean, I recommend that you watch his video on it because he explains it really nicely. How her mother went around with this, basically the secret man on the secret journey, and it's kind of I don't know.
I mean, would Ace do something like that? Do you think Ace would do something like that? If Ace was allowed to grow up, do you think he would end up being kind of like Roger? Because he seemed like a ladies' man, especially in the Ace novel.
I don't know. I don't think so because I feel the point of I don't think Roger did it because he was a ladies' man, even though he probably was that as well. I think it was more like, oh man, we need someone who's from the D clan, who's gonna be strong. He better have good genes, so he can become Joy Boy. Yeah. And he's like, well, I got good genes and I have the will of these, so better be spreading some babies around.
Curious question. Do you think Momo is eventually going to use Conqueror's Haki?
I don't think so. Oh, wait. That's a good question. I don't think he needs to. Because Shirahoshi doesn't need to. Right, for example.
The lineage might have a factor with it. Garp mentioned that, Luffy inherited it too, like Dragon. Momo using Conqueror's Haki and also, being able to know the voice of all things. I think it's more of just a question rather than when it will actually happen. But I think I think it's credible.
I'm going to change my mind. You're right. Because I was going to say, because my thought was for Conqueror's Haki basically means you have to have the, that's the will of a king. And I'm like, well, Momo doesn't have the will of a king. But then my next thought was, well, he has to become a king in this arc.
He's literally growing up. Kaido said, son of Odin. He has already acknowledged Momonosuke as a man. Yeah. I'm like, he's growing before our eyes.
You might be right. You might be right. So for me, in my head, but you might be right, actually. It might be Conqueror's Haki. In my head, but maybe that's just because I want that to happen. I kind of want something to happen with this devil fruit. So for me, it was if he actually, the moment he'll break through and become that king and become that leader, for me it was I hope he gets just this other dragon that can face off with Kaido himself.
Yeah,
because that would be great for I think Luffy has to still be the one in the end to take down Kaido.
Well, the Zoro stands
but I feel
nah, go ahead.
I think Zoro had his shot, and I think Zoro got more than I personally expected. I was very pleased with it. I'm a big Zoro fan, so I was very pleased with what Zoro did. I think, I personally don't understand how some people are dissatisfied because, in my opinion, he got more than I think we could have hoped for.
Yeah,
already in this arc.
I do agree with that as
well.
So
I'm very, very pleased with that. But I think it would be great for Momo's character if he, I think right now we're gonna get Yamato standing up to Kaido, which is something I really wanted to see. That had to happen.
Yeah.
I think I don't think Momo has to fight Kaido because where is he going to take that power from? But if he actually, if he got at least a shot at him and in dragon form, how symbolic would that be? So that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But then again, at the same time, Conqueror's Haki would also make a lot of sense to me. So you're right.
So we have a quick question, a random question for you from Kako. She asked what your poster is. What's the poster on your door?
Oh, this is from a really cool store in Japan. It's called B-Side Label. They do stickers and they have these self-designed posters also, and I really like. So this is it's a Japanese proverb that basically says like 1,000 blossoming flowers.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just really like the vibe. I have like actually a second one there, like on the wall opposite of it. Like I really like that color combination, the black, white, and red. It's kind of like a bit of a color scheme I'm going for. Like my yoga mat, I'm like my workout mat I'm sitting on has the same color scheme.
Trying to personalize the room. I see that. Build some
Yeah, I'm trying. Like
personality.
the room's small, so like I'm trying to like at least make it a bit,
A little homey.
yeah, visually pleasing.
Yes.
Going for that.
Someone also wanted to ask Sanji having Conqueror's Haki. Now, I'm sure you've seen my complete disgust at this topic on Twitter. But do you believe... it'll probably it'll lead into the topic, so after you answer, then we'll go into the next topic.
Yeah,
Do you believe Sanji is capable of awakening Conqueror's Haki?
Does he need it though?
To me, he doesn't, and it doesn't make any sense. This is why it bothers me when people say it. But like,
Okay, I'm gonna say one thing. If Sanji, I'm not gonna be mad if Sanji has Conqueror's Haki. I think it would be dope. I would love it, even though he doesn't. In my opinion, he doesn't need it. So if Oda does it, the only reason he does it is literally to troll. It's like the same thing he would do. It's what he would have done with like Sanji's bounty after Whole Cake Island. It's like for no reason Sanji has Conqueror's
there's
Haki.
no reason for that.
I'd be on board with that. Like, I don't need an explanation for that, honestly.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I feel like it's a bit like with Zoro's Ashura. Like, if you really wanted to like pull stuff out of your ass, I could say, oh, Zoro's foreshadowing for Conquerors was like his Ashura, and like that's how Kaido understood he has Conquerors. It's like this supernatural power that was like kind of like we kind of just accepted, like, oh, there's some shit going on that like some people have crazy powers, including Zoro. You could say like Sanji has that as well, like his Diablo Jumba. You could say like, oh well, like that's kind of supernatural, so that might be like Conqueror's Haki manifesting in some way or form. So if I really wanted to put it out my ass, I would be like, that's the foreshadowing for Conqueror's Haki. But I don't see him. I don't see like. I mean, we're gonna talk about this later, or is it next? Or like
it's next. Yeah, it's next. It's next. So
okay, next, yeah.
let's just get into the next topic before the chat starts adding more foolishness.
I like it. I'm all for it. I need more foolishness. Please.
All right. There are two types of Sanji stans. There's obviously the my type, and I don't want to say the toxic type. I would say the type that's more aligned with I know. With the Mr. Prince, with the Mr. Prince Sanji, the humor pre-time skip where it was kind of more balanced, and there weren't more external women that he could flirt with. It was mainly Nami and Robin. And then there's those who really learn to appreciate Sanji even more with the subtle character moments, like from Baratier, especially Whole Cake Island would probably be a wet dream for the other side of the Sanji stands. But fortunately with me, we have basically a representation of the two. This is something me and Ohara have talked about in the past, and I'm glad we're now here to have you discuss this. So one, what part of Sanji do you enjoy the most and why? I think we should probably frame that picture before we discuss.
Right. It's a good point. So first of all, I'm gonna come out of the closet and say that I'm a very big, like, my favorite character in the story is Zoro. But I'm not a person, like, I'm not the like, oh, like, I hate when people ask me what's your favorite X, because like I hate ranking things. It's like there's a ton of like, but if you forced me, I would say like, whenever Zoro fights, like that gives me joy.
Right.
That being said, I'm a very big, like, I have a lot of love in my heart for Sanji. Like, I really love his character for completely different reasons, which we're gonna get into in a second. But like for me, it's a bit what you say. I'm probably falling a bit more into that second type. Like I appreciate the gentleman side and the like the James Bond kind of vibe.
Yep.
I think that's how you put it.
Yep, exactly how you put it.
I do enjoy that side, but that's not why I love his character. I'm probably falling more into that second category that you said, because for me, post time skip Sanji was fantastic. Like, we talked about this quickly when we were talking in private the other day. But for example, when like that, I was shocked to find out that not everybody was completely in love with the Black Maria chapters. Because for me, that was like fantastic character development for like it was payoff for the entire Whole Cake Island arc. It was like Whole Cake Island was about Sanji learning to let go of like the negative side of his like gentleman side, where it's like I have to do everything on my own. I don't get like nobody, like I can't accept help from others. because like Sanji was basically the only Straw Hat who never was like saved by Luffy, right? He was just like, "You want to be my cook?" And was like, "Yeah, you saved my ship. Thanks, I'll come along. You seem like a cool guy." And like kind of like got pushed out by Zeph. So
Interesting.
he always had that like all the Straw Hats have in some way or form been like pulled out of darkness by Luffy before, some dark place, and Sanji didn't have that, right? So that was what Whole Cake Island was all about. That was like that delayed version, basically similar how like Arlong Park was like a bit delayed for Nami, kind of,
Yes.
though. So, or like Endless Lobby for Robin, you could also say that. But like at some point, like every Straw Hat gets saved by Luffy properly.
Right.
And so that was what Whole Cake Island was about for me. It was like it was never about it was never about Sanji learning like unlocking Conqueror's Haki and like suddenly doing crazy like eating Big Mom's devil fruit and then becoming a Yonko. And like that was never what it was going to be about, right? It was always about like Sanji's character is about his character. It's like Zoro wants to become the strongest, so he has to become stronger to reach his goal. He has to grow as a person. He has to unlock Conqueror's Haki and like do stuff with his sword that other people can't do, right? That's what his character is about. And then with Sanji, like his his dream is to find the all blue, but like that's not something you can like grow towards. That's just something geographical, which is going to happen when they're probably going to reach the one like Love Tail or whatever, or like the red line comes down or whatever. All the theories out there, but like what his character is about is Sanji has always for me been about preserving his ideals. It's like I'm a gentleman. I don't hit women, right? That's the thing, and it's like at the beginning of the story, it's really easy. I don't kick women, but then as the story goes on, it's like, well, aren't there some women that might be worthy of you kicking? Like, what if your friends or your crew is in danger, or someone you love is about to be killed? Like, and it's like testing out these chivalrous values that he has like integrate into his life. It's like exploring both, can I actually keep them alive, and two, do they make sense in the long run in every situation?
Right.
And for me, Whole Cake Island was about learning that it's like you don't have to be the white knight in shining armor that saves the princess every time. Like it's okay to like rely on your crew to save you and believe in them. And then when he calls for Robin to save him, when it's usually the other way around, it's like he wants to be the one to save Robin, but he's like, no, like I've learned in Whole Cake Island that I can rely on my friends. And in this moment, like I have the choice. Do I like I can die, I can break my ideals to and like actually fight Black Maria, but I have the option to rely on like my strong like female crewmate. So I'm gonna do this is the easiest way. Like Robin is strong, so I might as well call her, so I don't have to die, I don't have to break my ideals. So for me that was like a fantastic. I was super happy when that happened. I found out very quickly that was not a shared reaction by the community.
You know what, Ohara? You know what? I'm gonna give you your cookies. I'm gonna give you a round of applause because
Thank you very much.
I have rebuffed every human being that has tried to make that Black Maria look good to me. I have completely rebuffed it. The benefit of what you mentioned is the way you framed it. I understood better because it's true. Sanji normally likes to try and take care of things himself. Normally when he's doing something in secrecy, in an espionage format. If you saw how he saved Viola, he's like, I'm going to do this on my own. I got you. And when they captured him, he was willing to take the beating. But once men were there, he's like, oh, well, I can fight these guys. I don't have to hit Viola. So
Exactly.
this is the first time Sanji's been put in a situation since Enies Lobby where it's either he stays and gets beaten or he asks for help. Now, the only difference between Khalifa and this is that he didn't have the option of asking anyone for help because he didn't see anyone around him. So in this case, they were saying, call Nico Robin. Now, you're right. The old Sanji would have been like, I'm not letting you put your hands on a woman. I'm willing to sacrifice my life for my ideals.
Exactly.
And then in this case, they actually, okay, I see what you're saying. Now, tying in that into Whole Cake, it's funny you say that because my argument is that what we saw from last chapter was the Whole Cake payoff. And I'll say it like this. Sanji normally has, like you mentioned before, Sanji likes to do things himself. Sanji kind of thinks, okay, well, if there is, this situation with Big Mom, Luffy can't get me out of this. Nobody can get me out of this. I'm stuck here. They got Zeph. I can't do anything. I would need a miracle. And that's the key word. I need a miracle to get out of this. And he didn't believe in the miracles that Luffy has done before in that moment in time. So he went off the whole cake. He was stranded. He didn't have a choice. We understand why he did what he did. Now we move on to Onigashima. After Luffy beat Katakuri, after he started believing in Luffy, right? That was the development. Then now we're in Whole Cake, in Wano. Kaido announced Luffy died. He's done. He's out. Everybody's crying. Everyone's like, oh my God, no way. It can't just be Luffy. The one person that stands up in the midst of that turmoil was Sanji. And the fact that he even mentioned, how many miracles have we seen? What happened in Whole Cake was a miracle.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no matter how you slice it, it was a miracle. So to me, when Sanji said that to Chopper and he gave him that speech, it was very reminiscent of Zoro in the Davy Back fight with Chopper, which I did like, very reminiscent. That was the moment where I saw Sanji has learned now that don't bet against Luffy no matter what. And I guess there's two different takeaways, because your presentation of him learning how to work around his ideals with the Black Maria moment, that's its own separate moment. And then this one seems like another Whole Cake moment. So maybe the two parts are both more development for Sanji, which means Sanji's got a lot of development up to this point.
Oh, he does. I mean, I always feel like, in general, I feel like I complain often about characters like Robin or Chopper, who like now slowly again are like, I think in Whole Cake Island was great for Chopper also, absolutely, like Brook also. Yes. But like especially the early times after the time skip, like Fishman Island and Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, those were very Luffy centered. But I feel like Sanji was one of the few characters who actually did get like consistent development. And like we showed, you know, like I complained a lot about, especially like, you know, as I said earlier, like these later members like Chopper, Robin, Frankie, Brook, like these got like very little character development, especially early on in the after the time skip, which I kind of disliked. For Sanji, I felt like it was like same for Zoro. It was a very consistent arc, in my opinion. And what I feel like what I use to tie together the two ideas we just threw out there is, I think the most important thing, the central thing that Sanji realized. I mean, he was already willing to give his life for Luffy, right? And that's what we saw in like on Thriller Bark with Zoro. He was willing to die for Luffy, right? What he was not willing to do is, you know, step down or swallow his pride to stay alive for Luffy, which is what Luffy demanded of him. Like that scene where Luffy says, I can't become Pirate King without you. Yeah. I think that's stuck. And it's like, okay, well, it's not enough to just be the cool guy and be like, it's kind of like saying it's easy to sacrifice yourself. It's hard to fight to stay alive for someone, kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and that's like, I feel like that's maybe what's like binding these two ideas together for Sanji also, that he learned in Whole Cake Islands.
So I'll give you this. I do look at that moment in a different light. I do. However, and this is where we get into the next portion of this topic, where there's a discourse between the usage of Sanji post time skip. To me,
right,
the Black Maria abuse, I think Oda went too far. He did not need to overextend and embarrass Sanji to that level to get that point across, in my personal opinion.
Where was he embarrassed though? Like I'm genuinely asking this because I genuinely don't see it.
So it's like the way he got caught. Like, I understand there's a woman that's crying for help. We understand. He breaks free, and knowing how capable Sanji is, and I understand this will be nitpicking. So just follow me here.
Right.
The fact that he was captured again, the fact that we know he can turn invisible, the fact that he knows there was no woman in danger, why couldn't Sanji escape in that moment? The reason he didn't want to escape is for the sake of that moment that we got with Robin. My problem is afterwards we got 2 straight chapters of Black Maria beating the dog shit out of Sanji, to the point where everyone's like, oh, this guy is disgusting, he's a disgrace. And it's like, you have to understand that in that time, Oda had been putting Sanji in these similar type of moments for a long time in post time skip, where you have Fishman Island, you have a little bit of Dressrosa here and there. Like it's like when everyone is looking for that, you know, the James Bond Sanji that you mentioned, people like me, you guys have more patience for it because you're looking for, you know, the depth within these actions. For us, it's like if you hold Sanji to such a high regard, it seems like Oda is abusing Sanji. And the fact that I feel validated because the voice actor himself agrees with us that he's like, when is Sanji gonna be cool again? Because it's like the perception is Oda just likes using Sanji for situations where he'll normally be made to look like a fool. And that Black Maria moment was like one of those moments where Oda made Sanji look like a fool to the point where people within the story
Really
were saying, this guy looks like an idiot. Now, he got redeemed.
Really?
Yes, but that's how it looks. That's the perception.
But like, okay, you sound like you love James Bond, right? So you've probably seen the movies.
I've seen, I've rewatched it like 20 times. Like,
but how much more James Bondy does it get than James Bond being like seduced by a hot woman, gets beaten to a pulp, and then comes back stronger?
First of all, he sleeps with a woman. All right, I don't want to hear that. All right, Sanji don't sleep with the woman, so we can move that out of there. Okay,
I think we can agree if it were in the show, then he would definitely do so.
Viola's the only exception, and then Pudding. So, okay, to be fair, there's some redemption.
He's getting there. Yeah. I mean, the dude's like 20, right? He's like,
it's crazy when you think about that. Yeah, Sanji is like 21. That's kind of wild.
He's young. He's like, he's not early, but he's also not super late. So like, he can take a step.
Exactly. I mean, so, what is your thoughts on that? Because I'm assuming you don't believe Sanji's being made. Oda's not making a fool of Sanji.
I mean, like, obviously Oda has like a lot of running, as he does with every character. It's like, you can also say like, it's like, as a Zoro fan, you can also say it stops being funny when Zoro gets lost the excess time. But like, for me, it always it makes it funnier every time it happens kind of. And like, to be fair, one thing I kind of I feel like for me, the nosebleed thing, and I feel like that's more of a Japanese thing.
Yeah, that was bad.
I feel like that's something that doesn't resonate with too many people. And for me, like, especially in Fishman Island, it was kind of like, it was, in retrospect, I think like I can appreciate it more that Oda was like purposefully overdoing. He was like, not only is this like anime nose bleeding, this is like nose bleeding and you might die from it, which I in retrospect can kind of appreciate now. Though in the moment this was a bit annoying, especially in the anime. So like that's a part that like I don't hate, but like I'm not super in love with, but it's like something that's been consistent with this character, and like you can love it or hate it about this character, but it's never been like out of place. It's not like suddenly he does it. It's like, no, that's part of Sanji, right?
Yeah.
And then as I said, for me, it's like we know that Sanji has this weak spot for women. It's like, oh, I gotta step. I'm gonna caught myself saying like here a lot again.
Yeah.
Got blasted for that last time. So for me, it's he gets seduced, which is in line with his character. He doesn't want to leave, which is in line with his character. He's surrounded by like cute girls,
right,
who like kind of like are a bit flirty with him, even if it's in a very abusive way.
Yes.
Not that Sanji dislikes that generally.
Yes.
And he gets captured again, and then he gets beaten, which is again for me very James Bond like. It's like at the beginning, the hero gets caught, he gets beaten to a pulp, but he comes back stronger from it. And it's like the latest chapters where he like flinging around Queen like that. I'm like, he basically like he looked a bit he looked a bit bloody when he got beaten up by Black Maria. He basically doesn't like, he's starting fresh kind of.
Yeah,
I feel
like,
for me.
Barely has any
Sanji
damage.
looks, he's like nothing happened. He's like, and I feel like that makes it so cool. It's like, oh, the likes again. now I'm super conscious about it.
Yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Chill.
You're good.
Gotta chill. So basically, now we have him just being, hey, you like Robin got this. Basically, this has nothing on me. I'm just enjoying my time here, kind of in like a fucked up way.
Yes.
and now he's doing his thing. He saved Zoro from at least crashing into the floor. I don't want to get people jumping on me. We have this hilarious moment where he's using Zoro as a sword, which is like absolutely fantastic in so many ways,
yes,
which is great. And like again, like it's like the best moments are like these two kind of like getting along, which is
I agree with
absolutely
that.
great.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
And now he's kicking ass, right? And I don't know. For me, this is like just has been a fantastic. Like as I said, like for me, this is character development from Whole Cake Islands. I didn't look at it that way as you said it earlier from the last chapter, but I 100% agree. So we have like several steps of character development there. We have Sanji being able to keep his ideals but rely on his crew and like be willing to like swallow his pride for his captain.
Okay.
And everyone respects him for it. Literally, like Robin, you can see like how
Robin really appreciated that moment.
She glowed from that.
She really was happy.
And you have to look at it like that's one point. You also have to look like this. You have to look at it from her character point as well, because like her entire thing has that nobody ever was able to rely on her and like depend on her. It was always like you're unnecessary, you're unwanted,
you're
like
a nuisance. Yeah, and I think
for the first time, someone like really called like Sanji out of all people calling for her to save him. Like you could see her glowing in that moment. So yeah,
And the thing is, I would argue my main argument was that the moment was more for Robin than Sanji, because Robin had been desperately needing a moment
yeah.
like that for herself, and hopefully Oda really cashes in on it. Hopefully we see Robin again. Hopefully it's not off screen.
Oh, we will.
You know, so
Yeah,
fingers
no.
crossed for that.
But yeah,
But it's definitely an interesting insight into that Black Maria moment, and it is nice to see, because at the end of the day, there may be, you know, I think again I keep mentioning Grand Line Review and his video I Hate Sanji, because I think it's the best way to summarize Sanji, where there is 3 parts of Sanji that Oda likes to use intricately, and the only issue is the frustration comes from the fact that Oda seemed to rely more on the human side and the humor side of Sanji a lot post time skip, and we got a shortage of the James Bond Sanji that a lot of people like me as a kid. I mean I started watching One Piece very early, so
yeah.
secret agents, suit, cigarette, kicking, like to me I was like, wow, Sanji's great. So then when that gets reduced, you get a little frustrated because you're waiting to see that portion of Sanji that you like, but if you're only seeing those 2 parts.
I didn't see
Yeah.
that part either, honestly, though.
Yeah.
Because for me, again, I was not a big fan in general of the arcs in general, like as they were executed. Like I get their setup and they're like in retrospect, for example, Fishman Island is probably one of the most like the messages it has and like the implication it has for the story is probably one of the most important ones. But then the execution, I was no fan of Fishman Island and of Punk Hazard, as in it happened. It's probably 2 of my least favorite arcs in the way they were carried out, even though they were important.
Okay.
But for me, it was like in those two arcs, like in general, the Straw Hats, Fishman Island, and Punk Hazard, it was like kind of to be like, oh, like even though these would have been like these 2 islands would have been crazy for them before and like undoable before the time skip, like now they're just like mowing through that like effortlessly.
Right.
So there's like no tension there. We only start getting tension at Dressrosa. And then on Dressrosa already, Sanji is like acting pretty James Bond like-ish to me. Like he's like, okay, I'm taking like he's like jumping in there against Doflamingo and then like taking the crew and like saying, okay, I'm gonna leave this to you. We're gonna go ahead without you guys.
I would say
and then like
moment, yeah, that's where I would agree with you on
I mean,
that.
that's when they start like Doflamingo is like the first character literally that like is like a problem for the crew, like genuinely. And then like that's when Sanji is like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave this to you. I'm gonna like he's jumping in like facing off against him, you know, not bothering, and then saying, okay, I'm gonna leave this guy to you. I'm gonna leave, like you guys said you got this. I'm gonna take the rest of the crew to Zoe, whatever. And then in Whole Cake Island, we get like this really deep character moment for him. When that's like full James Bond. That's like what was it?
Skyfall.
Yes, thank you. Skyfall-ish, kind of, if you want to take it that way, like going back to the roots and stuff like that, and like exploring like his more emotional and like weaker side, and then actually like making him emerge stronger from that. So I don't know. I would kind of disagree with saying that he has been like overused as a comedic element, because I feel like all of the Straw Hats have been very comedy heavy in these 2 arcs after the time skip.
I see what you're saying. I would say mainly because it's not just the comedy, right? So we got basically the human side of Sanji. We got everything of Sanji in Whole Cake.
Yeah.
Everything about Whole Cake. We didn't really get much comedy scenes from Sanji in general in Whole Cake, to be honest. We got a lot more of his character, a serious side. So Oda kind of just threw human Sanji at us. And then if you look at Fishman Island, like you mentioned, you look at Punk Hazard, where, you know, the Straw Hats were kind of in the background. Oda mainly used Sanji in a humor-filled perspective, except for him shaving Tashigi, and that's about it. And then the Virgo thing, right? Then you go into Dressrosa, you have a lot of Viola and Sanji. A lot of it. Yeah. And I mean, I was Viola stan, so I'm happy my man Sanji got his. But then we move on to the Doflamingo scene, and everyone's like, oh, Sanji hasn't got a serious fight, or all that other stuff. You know how people are. So it seems as though from what you're seeing an overwhelming amount of the gags and the humor, because whenever Sanji's on the screen, Oda is throwing a gag immediately. Like, there was no... Right. It's very rare that you got a serious Sanji in post-time skip until you got to Whole Cake. Other than that, Sanji was a gag for a large majority of post-time skip. And then once you get the Whole Cake, you see not the James Bond side, but you see the human side. So you're like, oh, that was good. Whole Cake was
It was
polarizing.
very, very humbling also for him.
It
I
was
feel.
very humbling, and
That's why you didn't get any comedy out of it, right?
I didn't need it. And to me, like a lot of people think, it's weird. There's a notion about Whole Cake where people think Whole Cake was bad for Sanji. I understand where they're coming from, but for me,
I don't honestly.
like there's people that have their reasons. I don't agree fully. But I think Whole Cake was awesome because I learned about who Sanji was, and it actually made me love him more than I did before.
Exactly.
But
and I mean, doesn't his comedy go on? Sorry, I'm just gonna interrupt you
Yeah.
like very shortly here. Like just to finish that thought, I also feel like that his comedy now in Wano, now that it's back, it feels different. It feels like humble, if that makes sense. Like because we know he has like this newly found appreciation for his crew and for his captain, and has had this character. Like for me at least, when I see him joking around, it doesn't feel like he's like being more vulnerable now. I feel like with his like who he is and like his emotions and as a person. So I feel like especially with the characters around that were in Whole Cake Island, it feels a bit different, which is to me at least, which is cool.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Sorry.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I mean, again, I would say I'm probably one of the more jaded Sanji fans where the humor, I feel like this is my perception. I feel like Oda had drained my joy for the humor of Sanji out with the way he's overused it, and I believe he abused. I think Fishman Island is the most egregious case. Well, while it had its meaning, it really bothered a lot of people the way Oda used the blood. Like
I generally agree with that.
Yeah, you cannot. I feel like people cannot underestimate what that did to people's perception of Sanji because it was poor. Now again, like I said, it served its purpose, but people did not like it. So I think based on what he did in Fishman Island, people started to have a bit of resentment towards it because they're like, okay, well, you gave us all of this foolishness, so when are we gonna get the redemption of what you did with Sanji? And then we had to wait all the way to, we had isolated moments here, the baking of the cake, I think that was great. That was more of Sanji's human side. So everyone's like, all right, well, the way to redeem is if we get some Mr. Prince, maybe I'll forget, and you don't get Mr. Prince until now. So it's like,
but I feel like I think Whole Cake Island was also about getting rid of the toxic side of Mr. Prince and leaving behind the good side. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think when you say some people were dissatisfied with Whole Cake Island, I think it comes down to, as you say, waiting for redemption in the sense that redemption for Sanji looks as like he has been made fun of and used as like, basically shown to be pathetic in some instances.
Yeah.
And you were like, I want him like now smashing someone's face in. Basically, I want him as he does now, like helicoptering Queen around,
looking
the air.
cool.
That's like
and it's not just the power. It's the character. It's the confidence. The suave, right?
But that's not what Whole Cake was about.
Of course,
and I think that people like to overlook that. It's not like it was about. Sanji making peace with his past. It was about like him becoming more humble and like actually, like finding new appreciation. Like not as we said, he would already have died for every one of his crew, but like finding new appreciation also for the time they spent together and for their power and their struggles as well, right?
Yeah. And
rekindling his belief in Luffy that he would have died for Luffy, but clearly he was not at the point where he was like, for Luffy anything is possible. Like that speech he gave to Chopper recently, that's, as you said, a product of Whole Cake Island, right? That unwavering belief that like some of the other Straw Hats already had. And so it was never going to be like, the point of Whole Cake Island was never going to be, oh, now Sanji smashed Katakuri into the ground, so like that's his character development. Like no, like his character development is being with the crew, saving his captain, and making sure they get the fuck alive out there together.
Oh, I agree with that.
Like, that was the point, right?
Yeah. Now, the thing that I would mention is a lot of people that when we say we want Mr. Prince, a lot of people think we want Zoro. No,
yeah, exactly.
We don't want Zoro. I want everyone to understand right now, when we say we want Mr. Prince, Mr. Prince is not Zoro either. Mr. Prince
Zoro's
is what you just mentioned. Him being with his crew, him saving his crew in a very opportune time, but in the coolest, suave, badass way you can ever think of. Which is why I think Sanji's the coolest One Piece character, to me.
Exactly. But then, like, for me, but then I'm so surprised that you were so, because, like, for me, isn't that part of that cool charm? Isn't that part of the charm that you let the girl save you instead of being the the toxic masculine guy who was like, I don't know, man. For me, that's cool. I like for me that was a genuine. I was like, that's a damn good moment for me. I don't know.
That seems it's interesting because that seems like is it philosophy? It feels like a philosophical debate now because that's definitely
ideological.
That is ideological. There it is. It's based on your ideals, right?
I guess so.
It's interesting. That's a very interesting point. You know,
it's as you said, it's like personal ideology at this point. But for me, I think being like we know that Sanji is like, he is the third strongest in the crew, or like, I don't want to get into it, but he's super strong, right? So we know, like, if he wanted to, he could beat Black Maria's ass pretty easily, probably. So
absolutely.
So on that point, it's like being able to actually, like, he's able. I'm just repeating myself, but like being able to protect his ideal. You have the comedic element in there, but then actually, being like, hey, it's not like me saving Robin Chuan. It's like I'm asking Robin to save me because she's a pretty big badass herself, and like I don't have to deal with this shit. I don't know. For me, that was pretty, like, that was maturity for me. That was like, I'm not like this. It's like, like how it's like, yeah, I want to be James Bond and I want to be cool, and the cool guy always saves the girl. It's like, no, like I can also like let the girl save me if it needs to be.
Right.
I thought that, like, for me, that was like a sense of like maturity, but like as you said, that might also depend a bit on like what you personally value in like chivalry and in your Mr. Prince, I guess. I
value the chivalry. I do. I really do. I think, man, this is tough. We're gonna go on forever. So I'll leave it at this. I value the chivalry of Sanji, and I appreciate it because I myself am old school. My father raised me the same way. So to me, people don't like it. People think that Sanji's chivalry is demeaning and undermining to women. And I see where they're coming from. And Sanji's reactions and actions do mimic some, behavior that women are just damsels in distress. But from my own upbringing, from an African household, for everyone who is from an African household, the way Sanji wants to make sure that a woman is always protected and taken care of, that is something that people like me can resonate with. And I don't have an issue with that.
But again, I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. I think what Oda has done with Whole Cake Island is protected that ideal of Sanji, where he's like, I still want to be the guy who saves and protects his crew.
Right, and no, Robin can actually take care of it as well.
But he has kind of like sucked out a bit like the toxic masculinity part of it, where he's like, under no circumstances can I ever push it on, or can I ever let myself be saved by the girl. It's like kind of like, because I'm like, he took away that, like, I'm a guy, so like I can't let the girl do the work.
Yeah.
He sucked that away, but he left the I want to be the shining knight part, and like I want to save and protect my crew. But he was like, okay, but I'm also like mature enough now to recognize that, like, as you say, it's not just damsels in distress. Like, I still want to defend and protect and fight for my women, but like at the same time, I recognize that my women are pretty strong themselves, kind of. So I don't know. For me, like, that was a pretty, like, I don't think there's like any. I think as I said, I think he left these great parts of Mr. Prince that you value so much. He completely left those intact, but like sucked a bit out the like egocentric, narcissistic, like I want to be the cool guy kind of vibe, which in my opinion made him cooler. But then again, that might again depend on perspective.
Believe it or not, as humans, we do like, we say we don't want to be narcissistic, but we always gravitate towards the narcissistic alpha male type of guys. But yeah. Let's, because we're going on, so we have let's move. We got to move on straight to the next topic because
we got to move on.
I am on a very short leash right now. So the next topic, we're gonna be ranking the top 5 One Piece villains. So we're gonna be naming our top 5 from 5 to 5, 4 to 4, 3, all that stuff. So for anyone that has any disagreements in the chat, in the comment section, please, this is a subjective list. You can provide your own list as well. But I think with how Kaido is performing in Wano, I'm curious to see if any people's lists or ideas of their antagonist that they like has changed. So, Ohara, I know you're kind of going off the top here, but would you like to start with your number 5?
I'm going to start with my number 5. I'm going to say that my number 5 is Akainu.
Interesting. Now, what is it about Akainu that would put him over? Well, actually, you know what? We'll save the explanations to the end. Let's do that. So for my number 5, I have Arlong. Now, my reasoning for liking Arlong is Fishman Island was one of the best things that ever happened to Arlong's character, I think, because it really, when you go and revisit the dialogue that Arlong had in what's Nami's Orange Town, right? Orange Town?
Yeah. No, it's Arlong Park, right?
Arlong Park. Sorry. God, oh my God. Anyway. Arlong's rhetoric about Fishman and how he's trying to build up his Fishman brethren all stems from an inferiority complex that he had developed from an early age that they've been trying to fight, and Fisher Tiger has been trying to fight. And the fact that he and Jinbei are basically the opposite sides of the route you can go when you've dealt with racism is very interesting. As a black man, that's something I really resonate with, because there are two sides. In the past, it used to be Malcolm and Martin Luther King. In this case, I don't know if Oda researched it or not, but in this case, Jinbei took more of the peaceful route, work from the inside, while Arlong was more of, I'm going to uplift my people, and we're going to dominate the people that belittled us and look down at us, because we are actually better than you. So Arlong, in that, with that dialogue that he had, was so profound based on what we saw from the Fisher Tiger flashback, where I'm at a point where I'm like, man, do people understand how great of a villain Arlong was?
Yeah.
Just from an ideological, philosophical standpoint, Arlong was one of the most enjoyable villains.
The great thing about it also is that like Oda had, like, I think he said in an interview that, like, that Fishman plot with Arlong, he had that, like, started, like, that's one of the things he had, like, settled from the start, right? Like, he wanted to have Fishman Island happen way earlier originally, and then, like, as it goes with Oda, like, all this shit happens in between. But, like, that was, like, Oda, like, he wrote Arlong Park with that concept in mind already, which I think is great. Which makes sense because it works perfectly in retrospect also. So yeah, I 100% agree. And, like, I think yeah. So, like, I think one of the things, as I said, that makes it such a pity that Fishman Island turned out the way it did, because the messaging behind it is so powerful. Like, you know, and, like, it's for me, it's like a wonderful take that Oda takes on racism, and also very, like, surprisingly realistic one. I'm surprised because, like, being in Japan myself, I can say that Japanese people, like, they have, like, very romanticized views on many things, and, like, politics is not exactly, like, the number one thing that people here are interested in. So, and it's a very homogeneous country, right? So, like, it's like the first time I, as a white guy, have, like, experienced racism here. So I'm like, that makes me appreciate it, and I think that goes for a lot of, like, the better manga writers. Like, for example, also, like, we talked about Jujutsu Kaisen earlier, Akutami. Like, those are actually guys that actually, like, they care about politics and they care about, like, social issues. And you can be sure that, like, Oda, the level of, like, when you say, like, it hits you and, like, you can resonate with that, you can be sure that he, like, looked into that a lot and, like, thought about that a lot. So I think that translates really well. So Arlong's great.
All right, number 4.
He's actually up. I would have said Arlong, but, like, no. I'm gonna put him now on number 3.
Really? Okay.
I'm gonna go with something else for number 4. Right. Who would I have on 4? So for number 4, I would say Katakuri, probably.
Okay.
Just because, like, he was Katakuri was, like, for me, a fantastic villain, and, like, or not antagonist, more than villain, really, right?
I agree with that.
And for me, like, the charm of Katakuri is the way I don't have him higher up, because I absolutely love the fight between him and Luffy. The reason I don't have him higher up there is because it was not so much that, like, Katakuri was amazing because the work he did for Luffy, kind of, like, it's, like, not necessarily that Katakuri was, like, crazily well written as Arlong was, or that he's, like, this over looming, like, evil that Akainu is, this, like, absolute, like, this, like, dictatorship approach to things. But, like, it was, like, interesting because it was the first time, because Luffy always frees people, right? Like, it's always, like, in every arc, like, Luffy comes and he saves people. That's what it is. It's like in Arlong Park, it's like he saves Nami and her village. It's like whatever, like, he saves Alabasta, he saves XYZ, right? Robin, whoever it is, Sanji. With Whole Cake Island, like, and Katakuri, it was, like, not defeating the antagonist to free someone. It was literally freeing the antagonist himself. Like, Luffy freed Katakuri from the bonds of his family, and, like, you know, the duties that he had, like, for his family, like, not being able to hide his face, and not being able to show his face, never falling on his back. Like, Luffy freed Katakuri to be who he was, like, the good guy and the cool older brother he wanted to be, who loved brilliant, and that for me resonated. And at the same time, like Katakuri in return paying Luffy back in sorts of way by like actually like teaching him how to use Future Sight and like pushing him to become stronger and surpass his limits.
Yeah.
That for me made him like a great villain. Like not he wasn't like super complex or super deep. It was just like he was a really nice guy, loving brother that like got fucked up by the entire Big Mom family dynamic, and like Luffy kind of pulled him out of that. And basically made him see like, okay, well, something with my mom's kind of wrong, but this guy kind of like has it together. I appreciate him.
That's a fair point.
So that for me made like the story behind the fight made it really cool for me.
That's an interesting view. I don't think I've heard anyone have that view of Katakuri like that, but that's definitely a good point, because if you look in his flashback, he wasn't a malicious kid, bro. He just wanted to eat donuts, and you know, if someone messed with his family, he'd fight him. Like, I'm like, fair enough. That's all he really. That's to this day, he's still the same guy. I protect my family and I eat donuts. That's really all I want to do. So,
only that he got like pushed into this like you got to be the perfect dude kind of role.
Yes. Yeah. And that was a burden.
And ignore what Mama's doing.
Yes. Ignore that my mother kills children and
eating my eating my siblings.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. My number 4, and this might be a surprise to some people, is Blackbeard. Now, I universally have Blackbeard as my top 1. I mean, look, you can look at my logo, my Jolly Roger. It's Blackbeard Field. You know, Blackbeard laugh. Oh, I love everything Blackbeard. But in terms of
Blackbeard yourself,
I do, and I am black, and I have a beard. So I'm technically Blackbeard.
Man, you're like rocking it.
I'm everything Blackbeard. But the reason I have him low, because I do consider this low, is because I need the backstory first. His character is great already. What he's accomplished in the story and what he's changed in One Piece is immeasurable. So you can have him higher, and it'd be fine. But for me, I like to wait to the backstory first, because the backstory means a lot to me with these villains. Their motivations mean a lot to me with every villain. So that's why I'm holding off. So Blackbeard is number 4 up to this point.
Yeah, I'm actually like, for the same reason, Blackbeard actually doesn't make it into my top 5, I think, just because like I feel like we only see like 1%.
Exactly. There's so much
what
more.
He's about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure he'll be way up there, if like not on top at the end, but yeah, I like for me it doesn't make sense, I guess, yet to put him in my top 5, just because, as you said, I want to see more of what he actually is all about.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So you said your number 3 is Arlong.
Yes, same reasoning, I would say. Like like Arlong Park in general. I did like a video on it where I did like my scene analysis series. I'm not sure if you saw that.
I did.
And yeah. And like it made me like just going and rewatching the arc and like going through it and watching all the like subtleties there was like fantastic.
Yeah,
so
it's really good.
I mean, you already explained it pretty fantastically, but it just gets better the more the story progresses. Like going back to it makes it better.
Yeah.
And it's like you can appreciate like how much Oda had already like planned out in his mind. So fantastic villain. It's like, for me, I think I titled that video something like, the moment like Baratier made me fall in love with One Piece, but I think Arlong Park was when One Piece really became like exceptional.
Yeah, exactly. That's when the highest quality of One Piece was really coming on the screen. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I think the most emotional moment we had in One Piece up to that point was when Luffy said, "Nami, you're my friend." Like, if you didn't cry at that moment, I don't know, because that was a lot. Also, Nami stabbing herself as well. Talk about intensity, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. And like as you said, like there's so much, like going back to the race thing, it's like so interesting. Like I absolutely love how Oda portrayed, like we get this perspective of like the fishmen being like this evil, race of like just murderous people who like to like prey on humans and be like have like this kind of like supremacy kind of vibe to them. And then like this entire thing gets flipped completely on its head, and like it's like and there's no winner, and like this cycle of hatred and like, and Jinbei is struggling with like, I'm trying the peaceful way, but is that actually gonna work, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And then like obviously for One Piece, like the solution there is gonna be Luffy, right? That's why Jinbei joined Luffy in the end. It's like, he might actually do what even Fisher Tiger didn't manage to do in the end. But yeah, absolutely fantastic arc. I love all the setups there, and it makes like makes me kind of sad that Fishman Island wasn't even more intense than it could have been, because we came with these intense it was like, oh, Jinbei seems to be the only like we like it was like already warming up. It was like, oh, Jinbei was kind of like he seems to be the exception kind of dude, but then like Fishman Island just flips everything on its head, and I feel like that could have been even more intense than it already was.
Yeah.
So yeah, great art, great villain.
Yes, sir. My number 3. Now it's funny because it's a little contradictory to my last point with Blackbeard and my top one as well. But Kaido's my number 3. Now I have Kaido as number 3 because his performance in Wano has been nothing short of exceptional. Like we talked about it before, so I won't be long winded. Plus, I have a video. I just literally just did a Kaido video, so you'll know my reasoning. But the things that he's accomplished in Wano has been, in terms of an antagonist, there's none that's had the presence this man has had. When it comes to every obstacle he goes, he completely dominates. Where he's getting hit by everybody. You think, oh, they got him on the ropes. He got him on the ropes. Luffy's off screen. Zoro uses his strongest attack. Scratches him. He's still standing up. Thunder boggles him. Get out of here. Like, and then just from the subtleties of this weird samurai honor that Kaido has underneath all the brutish, ogreish behavior that he has, I'm like, why is he such a noble villain? He's starting to make me think of him as like MCU Thanos, where it's just like he's a brute, but he's kind of philosophical in a way, and I'm like, where are you going with this? So he would actually be top 1 if he had the backstory, but I've kept him at 3 for now. So Kaido will be my top 1 after the backstory. I'm almost certain of it. But that's my number 3. So now we're on to number 2.
Number 2, yes. So for me, number 2, I would say Doflamingo probably. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's your number 1.
No, I want to hear your number 1 now.
My number 1 is Kaido.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna be the best villain for now, at least. I have high hopes. I think both. I think like Blackbeard definitely has but like he will probably. I would be very disappointed if he didn't become number 1 at some point. But now, yes. I absolutely love Wano so far. Like the only arc above it for me is Enies Lobby and Water 7. And that being said, Rob Lucci doesn't make it on my top 5 list just because like, he's a great villain. Yeah. But the beauty of Water 7 and Enies Lobby lies not in the antagonist for me. Like he fits fantastically into. Are you reading the chat?
I was there. I was like, what are they saying?
Like, what's happening? You know, like for me, like what's great there is like all the symbolism and the struggle and the growth and like everything that happened. But it's like, and Lucci fits perfectly in there, as even does someone like Spandam, right? Like they balance each other fantastically in like their seriousness and jokiness, but they are not for me what makes this arc the best one in One Piece for me. So he kind of does make it into that top 5 for me. So yeah, for me, I would say Doflamingo was great. I know, I mean, you know, we don't have to get into the reasons why people love him. I was not a fan of Dressrosa in the anime. In the manga, it's way better.
Very fair. The anime was
like
painful.
To be fair, yeah, the anime made me drop the anime.
A lot of people, believe it or not, a lot of people dropped the anime because of Dressrosa. It was really bad. Yeah, it was bad.
No, it was like because that was when I think that was when I caught up with the anime, and like just that weekly watch, it was like. I remember when Luffy had that 10-minute timeout, and that lasted for like half a year, I think.
Christ.
And I was like,
the citizens running from the birdcage, like 5 minutes of just citizens running. I couldn't believe what I was
And then
watching.
the animation quality was so low, and it was like, let's have a recap, and it's like 5-minute recap, and it's like 5-minute recap. Citizens are still running, birdcage is still closing in. Zoro still is here. Luffy's still there. It's like, I don't need a map. They didn't move.
Yeah, I just, wow. I think it's universally agreed in the community that Dressrosa was one of the worst anime arcs we've gotten.
Yeah. Which is sad because Doflamingo genuinely
excellent.
Is a fantastic, excellent villain. I mean, I wouldn't say always, but these Joker types of characters usually do really well. Like no matter if it's like a Hisoka or you know Joker himself, or like I like that villain type. It's like very archetypical, but yeah, absolutely love it. And also like you know his backstory was great. Like it's still like giving Doflamingo that kind of like sad, tragic backstory, but still making it clear that the guy was basically a nut job from the start.
Yes, he was crazy from the very beginning.
And then like like his relationship with Rocinante, like I absolutely love that character.
Yep.
So, and then this tying everything in together with Law. So that was like, that made him a like top 2 villain for me there. What's yours?
So, I have a bone to pick with you, Ohara. I do.
Please.
Dofi is my number 2, so we agree on that. You know, Dofi is amazing. I believe that a majority of the One Piece community believes he's the best villain in One Piece. That's their opinion. Fair enough. Again, for me, when it comes to villains, their ideology matters a lot. But when it comes to aesthetics and presence, impact on the story, impact on the protagonists, Doflamingo's impact on the protagonists themselves, the pain, the torment he caused, the toys, the whole toy dynamic of Dressrosa was really dark when you think about it. It's very
really
dark. I was
up.
like, wow, the way he took over Dressrosa and the way he turned the people against King Riku, that was dark. Like shooting his own brother, like.
Yeah.
From what he did as an antagonistic force was very, very strong, which is why like people who are good villains in terms of their own villainy, I really put a lot of stock in, which is why a lot of people like Frieza, you know, and all Dragon Ball Z villains are your textbook villainous villains, right? So a lot of people they're always iconic. But my number 1, and I'm very disappointed he's not in your top 5. I'm immeasurably disappointed that Crocodile is not in your top 5. How can one of the most evil villains we've had in the series, the most cunning, meticulous, aesthetically pleasing villains we've had. I knew that we would
say that, though. I knew that the James Bond guy would love Crocodile.
I mean, but you know what? How can you not have Croc top 5? How?
You're probably gonna like jump at me. I'm happy.
Go ahead. I'm already upset.
I'm gonna say I made a video about this.
Oh, God.
I personally think, for me, in general, Dressrosa and Doflamingo, for me, is Oda taking all the fantastic stuff he did with Alabasta and all the fantastic stuff he did with Crocodile and like built on that and made it better. That's my perspective. So when I say Crocodile is not in my top 5, I kind of include him into my Doflamingo number 2 because for me, Doflamingo would never have been neither Doflamingo nor like Dressrosa would have been what they are without Alabasta and Crocodile. So for me, those kind of built on each other. No disrespect.
I see where you're coming from, but for me, right, and we talked about when you're a villain, your antagonism. How antagonistic are you to the protagonist? With Crocodile, the dude was one step ahead all the time, to the point where he drove. It's like, you remember when Arlong drove Nami insane and you really felt hatred for Arlong. Crocodile drove Vivi to the point of pure insanity, where she was punching and fighting Luffy, and Luffy was punching Vivi because Crocodile put them in the situation where no matter what happens, people will die. Crocodile's got y'all that down bad. He had people infiltrate both sides. Crocodile was just, oh my God, the aura of this man, of just like, no matter what, he killed Luffy twice, bro. Like, it's just like, when you revisit Alabasta, it seems like Crocodile was dominating from the very beginning to the very end, where Luffy had to come back for a third time. And obviously, you know, Pell had to kill himself, allegedly. Obviously, he didn't. But he had to kill himself to stop everybody from dying. And then Luffy had to go down to the catacombs of Alabasta and break bedrock just to beat Crocodile with blood on his hands. I'm thinking, like, it was so hard to defeat Crocodile. His presence will never... it's very hard for it to be eclipsed for me. I mean, that's why Crocodile's my top 1.
I have no issues with that. I mean, for me, it might be a bit disrespectful to like cluster Doflamingo and Crocodile together, but for me, there's like, it's so, I mean, like, I'm not gonna go into detail, but like, obviously, parallels are just so obvious, and like, you know, the mastermind pulling the strings, controlling the country, pretending, like, basically blaming the true good guys for what's going, and then all these things, the
Doflamingo family, underworld stuff, you know what I mean?
And so on and so forth. And it's like, for me, I clustered, like, I feel like, you know, putting both of them together in the top 5. I mean, for me, like, because they're so similar in the setups, but like in no way do I discredit how great Crocodile was. Like I get it, but like I kind of cluster them together a bit disrespectfully.
Hey, listen, everyone has a right to their opinion, and that's why we do
Thank
these
you very
things,
much.
because it's all about opinion. However, in the future, please say Crocodile's name at least. That's all I ask. Just say
I
Dofi
will
and
do that,
Crocodile. I will accept
Sure.
that answer. I will.
Sure thing. I'll think of you. But yeah, as for my number one is for Kaido. I mean, I don't think like there's so much, so I don't think we have the time to go into detail. But like, just the scale on which Kaido has been a villain, and
Oh
like,
yeah.
and like we talked about it earlier, right? The nuance to his character and like this like every single chapter of Onigashima, not even Wano, like just Onigashima. We didn't know shit about like Kaido didn't appear basically until Onigashima almost because like Oda was so careful not to reveal anything about him.
Yeah.
It's like in every chapter since then, like just in tiny bits, we get like fat stuff about him, and like not only has he completely lived up to the expectation of being that like complete monster, like like people generally like him, I think now.
Yeah.
And yeah, just so much. I'm really excited to see like his backstory and like how things are going to turn out, but like just the scale on like the scale on that he operates, and like you have to think like that dude, like he like Oda tried to portray him as like this dumb beat club kind of character,
Yeah.
but that dude is basically the mastermind behind the entire like everything since the time skip kind of.
Yeah.
Like so this like everything with Momo and Punk Hazard and the Samurai and Wano and Joy Boy and you Odin, every like, you know, we're talking like this is like endgame stuff here. And yeah, time that that's probably like Kaido praise is probably due in another video, but yeah, for me, I have like I faithfully have no doubt that after Wano he'll be my favorite villain.
It sounds like you need to make a Kaido video. That's what it sounds like. So I'll be looking forward to that Kaido video for certain.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, that
I'll wait till Wano's over.
Well, that ends the topics. Unfortunately, I am very late for another engagement, but very awesome.
sorry, man.
No, don't be sorry at all. Like I enjoyed the conversation. The stream loved it. The chat loved it. Yeah, we had a minor bodega at the very end. So.
Oh damn.
Yeah, no. However, we're
internet.
Yeah, no, just internet stuff. I think we're good though. We're good. Everyone they can see it, and it lowered the quality of the stream. But I saved it, and I was recording, so we're okay.
That's great.
But yeah, thank you, Ohara, for coming through. Ohara was the first guest on the JD Ledger show. That was awesome.
What an honor.
Definitely an awesome to have
Hanging.
you.
I didn't get hung. We're just sad.
Yes. So
where's the payoff?
So now that we're at the end of the stream, guys, does Ohara live or does he die? Thumbs up for live. Thumbs down for death. And that's how we'll end the stream. Ohara, you cross your fingers. That crocodile take was a little aggressive. I don't know.
I'm not sure I have a tie around.
This is a dark stream.
Oh shit, am I dead?
No, I don't know. They're not saying anything right now. I think you gotta wait for it. There's like a little lag time behind.
Lucky. That's good.
People saying alive. Is there a bodega? No, there's no bodega. We're good. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Yeah, they're saying someone said kill him in caps, but the rest everyone wants you to live. All right.
Yeah, that's the one dude who always is like up when shit goes down.
Believe it or not,
that's the dude who's always shouting in the crowd.
The
fuck him up.
The funniest thing is the one who said kill him is the one who agreed with you the most on the Sanji Black Maria take. That is the funniest thing ever. Like that is hilarious.
It's like I like that guy, but I still want to see some blood.
He just wants violence. That's all he wants.
Yeah. Well, bro, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
It was fun as always.
Yeah, no, I had
Appreciate
a great
it.
time. So
shout out to the chat.
Yes, sir. So obviously, if you haven't subscribed to Ohara, just type in Ohara on YouTube. Subscribe. He's there.
Thank you.
Definitely give him some love. Show him love. He does great Jujutsu Kaisen content as well. Megumi video was very good. I was a big fan of that one.
I appreciate that.
So, yep, check him out. And that's it. I got to go. Thanks, everybody, for your time.